In the far north up here, groomers like this machine here keep our snowmobile trails open and ready for business at all times. Our trails up here are a more important part of our traveling than our highways, which can often be blocked by storms and winds causing bad drifting, where our snowmobile trails are pretty much always reliable. This is about the fifth time in a week that I've had to do this. It's been the last 3 days in a row, and it just keeps on coming. This, of course, is another machine that's imperative to keep it well maintained and running. This machine has electric start, but it's generally a one pulse start, so I usually don't bother with the electric. As you can see, there's a pretty heavy snow load here. That snow is probably close to a foot higher than the auger chute on this machine, so it takes a lot of power to push its way through that heavy snow, and then when the snowplow hits the end of the driveway, it's 4 times worse. It seems like there's never an end of chores. The heavy winds that we get here blew the cap completely off of the top of the chimney for my wood stove. It's allowing the snow to get down in the chimney, and that will just mix up with the creosote, what little creosote there is, because I clean it regularly, but it still makes a bit of a mess. So it's up onto the roof and put the cap back on, and you really want to take care of chores like that right away, because like I said, when you've got a fire going in the house in the wood stove, that has a potentially dangerous thing. One thing we do get from up here is a pretty decent view, and you'll get a better look at that here momentarily. Even though this is mostly chores and minor repairs that need to be done ongoing, it's a good idea always, no matter what the environment is where you live, to get out for at least a couple of hours a day. Whether it's cold and snowing, there's a nice view right there. Whether it's cold and snowing, or maybe where you live it rains a lot, you can't stay cooped up inside. Take the kids out, go tobogganing, build a snowman, whatever you can think of to do, skiing. As long as you get some fresh air, it's critically important to your well-being and to not go cabin crazy, or cabin fever as they call it up here. It's also important to be well prepared. Not only is the weather poor up here, but I also live a long way from the nearest village. This generator here, that small wire I was just holding, goes to a plug-in transformer, and this has a small battery built into it, and it's constantly kept charged, so that when the power goes off, that electric start, that was the key there, will always be ready to go. It also, as you saw a moment ago, has pulse start as a backup, and it's not bad to pulse start this. This particular one is a large generator, and it will power just about everything in the house except for a stove or whatever. I also keep gasoline on hand, about 5 of these 5-gallon containers, and they keep me for the automobile, for the generator, for my snowmobile, whatever. This is a 1-gallon can of the Coleman fluid that I also use for my Coleman lamps. Up here. Oh. Oops. Good thing I'm just in the backyard. Up here, we need our snowmobiles the way most people need their car. It's the most reliable method of transportation when it's snow and ice. There's only one highway here for a few hundred miles, and if it's icy or if there's an accident and that highway closes, there's no going anywhere. But you can generally get where you need to go on your snowmobile. And this one right now needs to be dug out. As you can hear, this is a very windy area. We get a lot of wind off of James Bay, and probably some off of the very top end of Lake Superior. But even at that, I'm out every single day with my dogs. We go for walks that are anywhere from 8 kilometers, so about 5 miles, up to over 20 kilometers, which is 12 to 13 miles. When we go that far, I don't walk at all. I usually drive some of it. But the dogs love getting out. They need the exercise and the fresh air as much as anybody. Those wires, that one closest here, that thing is thicker by a long shot. Oh, way bigger than my wrist. That's a lot of weight. Look at the sag on these things. Anybody who's watched my videos for a while knows that I have 4 dogs, and 3 of them are quite large dogs. This is Timber, the big black German Shepherd, and he's about 30 or 31 inches at the shoulder. He's a big dog. He weighs about 110 pounds. Even though he looks very slim, it's solid muscle. And you need a big, strong dog to be able to get through the snow here. It's so deep, and look at him go. He runs through this stuff. It's amazing the amount of strength that he has. It's good for him. It gives him tremendous amount of exercise, and I just really love taking them out and just watching them go. This is the way dogs are meant to live. I don't know if you can see it in a lot of these pictures here. There are a lot of trails in the snow from wildlife, and there are deer, no deer, but there are moose, caribou. The bears are hibernating, of course, but there's a lot of predators, coyotes, wolves, marten and mink. There's just all kinds of them, and these snowfalls tell a story. And if you know how to watch for it, you can watch these tracks. They'll tell you what the animals have been doing, where they're going, whether they've had a successful hunt. And then we get a good wind and a bit of a snowfall, and it dusts over the tracks, and it's a whole new story the next day. Timber goes on and on like this for just hours. It's amazing the amount of strength that he has jumping through that deep, deep snow. So this is actually still relatively early in the season. Our winter normally starts about October, and we don't really get rid of the snow until sometime in early to mid-May generally. As you can see, the snow builds up considerably when you're cleaning out your driveway and so on, and you often have to start plowing or blowing it back twice as far as you need to, because eventually it just starts to get to the point where you can't push it any further, and it starts to fill back in, and so you need to leave an allowance so that as it walks back in towards the middle, you still have a driveway left to work with. Just to give you an example of how high this really is, as you can see, I'm climbing my way up to the top of this snowbank, and I can actually reach up and touch the power lines. Obviously that's not a good idea, but that's how high this snow pile is, and it's going to get a lot bigger, not much higher because we can't reach any higher with the equipment, but it's going to fill in a lot more before this winter is over. As always, I want to thank you very much for joining me today. If you enjoy this type of thing, please subscribe if you haven't already. And if you know somebody else who might enjoy this, it would be awesome if you would share it with them. Everybody have a great and safe week, and we'll see you all down the trail next time.